Okay, so after a rather painful grind for a couple hours, I have finally collected all 9 memory fragments of Oriyuki. Let's go over them together. I'll read them and comment a bit here and there, and we'll also look at the stories in her memory trace. Of course, I used automatic nexus because engraving doesn't really matter anymore. So this is the last one I got. Let's start from the first one. Okay, again, some paper cranes, red marker, some are red, some are from black paper, some are only partially red. Actually red paper as well. Okay, once again, they are interchanging these terms here and there. Everyone knows that the crane's weapon is her unusual scissors, almost as tall as she is. So, long before they actually started investigating, everyone was somewhat mentally prepared for what they should see in the piles of Lokutara records. Blood-stained photos, threatening audio recordings, imagery of a blade at someone's throat, but that wasn't the case. Rather, the damage records related to her were almost blank. We must have missed something, or she's just incredibly good at hiding. Otherwise, how does she usually get around? Could it really be with her paper cranes that grew legs? Don't be ridiculous, what can a piece of paper do? Scratch my finger? The answer to this question soon came. Oriyuki was a great help in tracking down Lokutara's financial flows. Those big shots who only deal in cash and tangible assets probably think they are being cautious enough. Who knew their cleverness would backfire, allowing a small piece of paper to slip through the cracks? After all, who would pay attention to a small blank piece of paper hidden among so much stolen loot? But why did you think to include another piece of paper in there? Did you already anticipate this day? Oh, come on, why do you always make me sound so cunning? I just leave traces for Lokutara to prevent them from suddenly turning their backs on me one day. After all, you know, the big shots are the best at deceiving people. That's true, I still believe in something truly existing and unchanging. You'd better truly be thinking of Lokutara. Once you've left Lokutara, aren't these also weapons you can hold in your hands, enough to protect yourself? Either way, you don't lose out. If a single piece of paper can achieve this much. Oriyuki, how many other places have you left a single piece of paper? Under the cold white light, the investigators stopped their work, their gazes uniformly falling on her. Oriyuki crossed her arms, pondering for a long time, and finally raised her hand, gently tapping her head. Hey, I forgot! You... It's very befitting Oriyuki's personality, though. She always do this. What she does, like in action, follows her objectives all along with Jiang Tan. But when she shows to other people, even us, the director, to Su Xiao, this is way to even these policemen, investigators. She has been like this. That's a personality. Memory fragment 2. As long as the dismissal bell rang, the classroom, like a lake awakened by the spring breeze, filled with a ripple of fragmented chatter. The girl, contrary to her usual nonchalant demeanor, was nervously packing her backpack. Suddenly, someone gently tapped her shoulder. She turned around to see her classmate from the back row. Your hair's sticking up. Ah, I probably pressed it down when I was sleeping on the desk at noon. Wrong direction. Won't you use a mirror? Why is it capitalized? I'm not sure. As the classmate spoke, they already held out a mirror to her. The girl squinted, subtly averting her gaze. On the window opposite, a blurry silhouette was faintly visible. No thanks, I'll just wash it when I get home. With that, she grabbed her bag and hurried out of the classroom. on the road she had walked countless times. The setting sun cast long shadows, gilding everything in gold, like the color of her in a dream. Since childhood, the girl had always dreamed of a girl about her own age. At first, she thought it was just a coincidence, but as time passed, the other girl also grew up little by little. She saw the little her struggling to eat a piece of bread, following someone to a new city, and later... Oh man, that's a localization error. Gender male seeing her meeting two senior brothers, female watching her meeting senior brother and sister, taking a perfect group photo. We know who these people are. Following someone to a new city, that's Qu Guanshen, that's Professor Qu. Two senior brothers, or senior brother and sister, one is Bai Ji, the other one is us, the director. So that's Su Xiao, she's dreaming about Su Xiao. Okay. It wasn't that she hadn't speculated about some connection between herself and the other person, but the story was too bizarre and the girl always found it hard to speak about. That's true, even in the storyline. She's only implying, not directly telling us. Over time, she gradually began to resist dreaming, but the figure with light amber hair never disappeared from her mind. Fortunately, she had never clearly seen her face. So imagine when Oriyuki traveled to Senro again and saw Su Xiao, as we have seen subsequently so many times in the main story. Not only that, but for a long time recently, she had also been avoiding seeing her face. Yet sometimes, the world insists on making one see clearly. I'm home, the voice echoed through the room, receiving no reply. The girl changed her shoes, then walked around, searching for the familiar figure. Mom? Her steps halted just before entering the living room. A woman wrapped in a thick blanket sat on the sofa with her back to the entrance, holding a photo album in her hands, untouched for a long while. From the girl's angle, she could only vaguely glimpse a corner of the album, but she immediately understood which photo her mother's gaze was fixed on. A young, elegant woman holding the little girl of about 3 or 4, smiling happily at the camera. The girl's hair in the sunlight had a translucent, golden, thread-like color, like the clearest amber. Although carefully preserved by its owner, the edges of the photo had begun to fade and show slight wear, quietly revealing their age. The woman's dry, thin fingers traced the girl's face, and with each touch, the girl's heart sank little by little. She inexplicably remembered that the person in her dream also had hair of the same color. Mom? As startled by the sound, the woman subconsciously closed the photo album and turned her head. Seemingly affected by the movement, she couldn't control her coughing. Mom! The girl put her school bag aside, quickly walked over, gently patted her back, and then quickly poured a cup of water and handed it to her. It's nothing. I'm just coughing a few times. Didn't the doctor say it's nothing serious? Seeing her daughter's worried expression, the woman smiled gently. Are you hungry after school? There's dinner ready in the kitchen, made by the housekeeper. Not really. It's a pity my body can't cook for you now. Instead, I have to let you take care of me. Why would you say that? Dad's not here, so I need to take good care of you, just like you took care of me when I was a child. The girl looped her arm around the woman's twig-like arm and leaned gently on her shoulder, but the next moment, the woman pulled her arm away, covered her mouth, and started coughing again. The sounds like dry leaves scraping across the ground. When the coughing stopped, the woman slowly turned her head and looked into her daughter's eyes. In that gaze, the curve of the girl's lip tightened slightly. she saw in the woman's no longer clear eyes clearly reflected was the most familiar yet most unfamiliar face, her own face, always so clear it has never blurred. Yes, so this is Oriyuki's past history. I think it's getting very more clearer and clearer that Oriyuki and Sushil swapped their lives a long time ago. So Oriyuki was originally from Senlo in Enredu, in the award-strived Enredu. Sushil is in Blackout. They switched, so that's why Sushil was found by Qu Guanxuan in some debris in Enredu, while Oriyuki is now in this family in Blackout. And all of these indications of her mom coughing is perhaps one of the precursors of the Blackout Day, because the antivirus. If you remember how the story of Luke and Xuange went in the Joyride storyline. So of course for the parents that is a dilemma. This is not their daughter, but she's in place of their daughter. They can't find their daughter back. They still have to bring her up, take care of her. Okay, third one. They have some jumps here and there, because all of these props and all of these text-based stories, except for the appendix, are not continuous, so it's always here and there. You have to put pieces of information together. Okay, photos. Oh, if we look back, this is a mirror shattered. Oriyuki doesn't want to look at the mirror because usually when she looks into the mirror, she would saw the image of Sushil, the girl with the golden hair. She has white hair. Oriyuki has white hair. Okay, photos. Oriyuki pushed open the glass door, and for a moment the surroundings seemed to fall silent. She quickly glanced at the officers moving as usual in the hall, then gave a brilliant smile and clapped her hands softly. Snap. I sure did make a scene. As her words faded, the voices, like a popped balloon, surged into the hall with a whoosh, sounding almost deliberately boisterous. Oriyuki acted as if she noticed nothing, walking directly to the service window. I'm here to apply for new identification. I have an appointment. Forms, fingerprints, signatures. She completed each step, then entered the snap room. The curtain fell, separating inside from out. This is actually quite authentic. Right now, even right now, for Chinese citizens wanting to get a new ID card or a passport, they go to the police station. They have dedicated offices, halls for these. They go to a photo booth to take a picture. Oriyuki, right? Please take a seat. Oriyuki did the mail, standing still for 5 seconds. Just before the officer in charge of the snap spoke again to urge her, spoke again to urge her, she turned and dramatically pulled back the curtain, only to come face to face with officer peeking from outside the door. Officer Jen, the snap personnel exclaimed. What's wrong? The old officer raised his voice, shouting back, but his expression wasn't so confident. He rubbed the back of his head, muttering as he walked away. I don't believe it. You've all been fooled by this little girl. Oriyuki's smile didn't change. She simply lowered the curtain and turned to sit in the snap chair. This time, it was the officer who hesitated to move. I'm sorry, please don't blame him. Everyone still has considerable doubts about your resurrection. Yeah, we all do. We all wonder why Oriyuki, who seemingly faded out in the all-view clock tower, has been reborn on the desk of the director. Okay, are you also one of everyone? You think this is just my way of trying to get off the hook? I'm not the officer in charge of this case. I won't jump to conclusions until I've seen all the evidence. Don't be so serious, officer. How about we change the subject? Officer, do you think human nature is determined by matter or consciousness? What do you think? I don't know either. The girl stuck out her tongue. A flash of white light passed by, forever capturing her playful expression on the photo negative. Right, that's actually a good question. So, yes, after the incident, her appearance is identical to the Crane, who was once a member of Locutara, and she even possesses 90% of her memory. So, in that dialogue, Oriyuki would say that since this incarnation of Oriyuki has so much of the previous Oriyuki's memories, you should consider this as just Oriyuki, a quote-quote normal person. But I guess in terms of matter, there are many things that can be suspected. So see, through various examinations, it can be temporarily confirmed that she lacks certain specific biological characteristics. Let's continue. Medical record 1, Oriyuki female, September 11/21. So the incident was a month ago, roughly. Chief complaint: underweight below the critical threshold. Etiology to be investigated. History: the patient presented with persistent unexplained underweight during the initial admission physical examination. No significant increase or decrease was observed within 2 weeks, leading to admission for severe malnutrition, extremely low body weight. Past history: self-reported multiple surgeries and trauma history, but none were found during the admission. Family history unknown, of course. Imagery examination: whole body bones, soft tissues, and organs all showed extremely low signals. The image signal-to-noise ratio was significantly lower than expected values under conventional parameters, making imagery details indistinguishable. No improvements after adjusting coils, gain, and sequence parameters. Abdominal and cardiac color Doppler ultrasound. Image quality was extremely poor, only organ outlines were visible and internal structures were indistinct. Whole body bone mineral density unable to obtain valid data. Bioelectrical impedance body composition analysis. Impedance values exceeded the instrument's detection limit, rendering data invalid. Of course, when the impedance is too high, the bioelectricity, the current, will be very low, right? Peripheral blood, whole exome sequencing. Some sequences match existing database at... Huh? At where? At what? Okay. We'll compare that with the Chinese version later. Medical record 2. Oriyuki, a month later, it's now October. Since August 11, the patient has experienced persistent memory loss, memory confusion, and fragmented personality changes for approximately 8 weeks, with unknown cause. History: 7 weeks ago, the patient overused her seized ability, of course, as in the story, leading to one or more states of loss of consciousness, severe injury, or death. For unknown reasons, she reappeared without external injuries. However, the following appeared. Retrograde amnesia. The patient experienced patchy, moth-eaten amnesia involving personal experience from the past 7 to 16 years with an inability to recall key anchoring information such as occupation history and residential address. Suspected. Fragmented personality changes. Intermittent dissociative or overly intimate behaviors inconsistent with previous personality, which resolve spontaneously after several minutes to hours, suspected. Past history. Self-reported history of multiple surgeries and trauma, not found. Self-reported no clear history of psychological trauma. Family history unknown, of course. Physical examination. Due to her unconventional human tissue structure, accurate detection cannot be performed. Mental psychological. Clear consciousness, normal intellectual status, stable mood, occasionally inappropriate effects. Avoidant methodology, weak moral sense, tends to avoid or induce through communication skills. Okay. Preliminary diagnosis: severe retrograde amnesia syndrome, memory system damage caused by artificial intervention, suspected, may involve avoidance or exaggeration, pending further confirmation. Although she claims no clear history of psychological trauma, her communication shows obvious signs of a two-stage onset. Okay. Treatment plans: programmed memory training, psychological counseling, continuous medication, transcranial direct current simulation. Treatment results. Currently, existing medical knowledge cannot explain all of the patient's symptoms. There is a possibility of artificial intervention, but no definitive legal? It's a medical example. Legit conclusion has been reached. Due to the complex and lengthy judicial evidence? So these are legal terms. I don't know why judicial is there. Involved in the patient's treatment, it has been reported to the director. The director did not approve any items in the treatment plan. Okay, let's go to the Chinese versions, just to cross-check. So, basically, we're done here. Peripheral body whole exome sequencing is here. Is this one. Some sequences match existing database. Less than 27% match, so there need to be further comparisons, and there's no number 6, right? So initial diagnosis, the imagery was extremely abnormal, reason unknown. We need to consider some abnormal human body composition, etc., and ways for a multidisciplinary let's say discussion and diagnosis. We have invited radiology, similar thing, an X crystal related research institutes, material science research institutes, celestial species, so it's like alien species, celestial species research center for a multidisciplinary check. All the imagery and biological samples have been stored with the highest encryption level. Please verify your identification before checking those information. Diagnosis results: advised to implement level 2 biohazard protection. In the short term, limit contact with non-necessary personnel. We have reported this to the director to initiate the special creature or new creature emergency procedures. Okay, so Oriyuki's body was highly abnormal. That's fine. Okay, we continue. Number 3, new journey. After unexpectedly meeting a special researcher friend, researcher friend? So Oriyuki, yes, her name is Oriyuki now, finally decided to leave the neighborhood she had lived in for over a decade and headed north. She knew in her heart that although she didn't have a strong will to live, it would be difficult for her to actively give up her life on a normal day, just as her body's first reaction to walkers was always to raise her dagger to protect herself. The instinct to seek advantage and avoid harm would eventually push her to leave, sooner or later. So we're talking about blackout and walkers. However, when that day truly arrived, Oriyuki experienced a sense of homesickness for the first time. Before it was completely dark, they found an abandoned house to warm up and rest in. Unlike the researcher's hiking backpack and a portable low-temperature transport box, Oriyuki's luggage consisted only of a few bottles of water, various flavors, dry rations, and a magazine. The magazine looked ravaged, worn down to tatters. Oriyuki would never forget that on blackout day, as she walked aimlessly down the street, it was repeatedly kicked by the rushing crowd until it rolled to her feet. Raging wind flipped open the page, revealing the headline in bright red letters. So that's the origin of the name Oriyuki. You saw it by chance in the magazine. Isn't that a strange reason? No, it sounds like the way the paper delivered the name and you chose to accept it. But why did you want to change your name? Because the name doesn't belong to me. I want to give it back and have a name I truly love. Sometimes I also overthink if the girl in my dream really swapped lives with me, then the person using this name must be completely gone. Mom knew this. Even without any evidence, she knew it wasn't me. But she still protected me. Perhaps at that moment she didn't have time to think so much, she just instinctively wanted to protect the daughter in front of her, nothing more. If the girl in my dream really swapped lives with me. Yes, so even more evidence here, and let's pay attention to the memory trace, because I think most people now, thanks to the gifted MTs, are able to pull this one out. So let's look at the art there. Alien, before the world collapses, the wind erases all names. Who are you? Who am I? So a very typical blackout atmosphere on a blackout day or after. She had these pages in her hand, quite broken, and indeed there is someone on this page. There's some words. Of course, in the global version we usually don't get the Chinese scripts on there, but perhaps it says something like Oriyuki. She doesn't want the name Su Xiao, right? She was considered Su Xiao, but it's never her true name. And then she found herself a new name on this magazine she found. No one cared to pick it up, but because she didn't have a name, paid more attention. There's a story here as well, which we'll look at later. We just went through this one. You're awake. You're awake! Oriyuki opened her eyes. The rust-covered ceiling looked like a precarious dark cloud, and the acrid smell of disinfectant stunned her nostrils. In an instant, she confirmed this was the local tower headquarters. More precisely, it was Liu Qi's workshop. Scalpel. The surgery was a success. Liuchi's voice came from the blind spot of her vision, heavy as if soaked with the thick pre-storm moisture creeping along her ears and seeping slowly into the gaps of her bones. "Oh," Oriyuki responded flatly, almost without a pause. Silence fell for a few seconds, then Liuchi's voice came again. "Why so disappointed? But when did Scalpel become so mischievous, specifically coming to scare me?" She tried to get up, but felt a piercing pain throughout her body. "I advise you not to move right now." "Why do you think you fainted? Although those small fries attack didn't amount too much to you." "Too much? Unfortunately, they happen to injure some old wounds on your body. I have to admit, they really are special, even somewhat familiar, like the kind I see or create every day." So they're talking about like the one-time echomancers. "So what? You won't tell the Archbishop about this? Are you sure? After all, it's you standing in front of me now, not the Archbishop himself? Herself, right? Chinchu's a lady." Besides, Oriyuki's tone was tinged with a smile, and the corner of a paper slip silently appeared between her fingers. "For dangerous jobs like ours, it's not surprising to be on the operating table a few more times than others, right?" No further conversation. "You're awake again?" Oriyuki's eyes suddenly widened, her eyes shrinking, and she instinctively tried to push herself up, only to be met with the cold pressure of restraints and buckles. Her limbs and neck were strapped into the grooves of the operating table, like some pinned specimen. Countless transparent tubes snaked across her body, their needles piercing her skin, glowing with an ominous light. In her peripheral vision, a massive machine pulsed rhythmically, and the stone-green liquid was pumped into her body in pulses through valves. With each beat, pain exploded from her chest as if countless needles were traveling through all her blood vessels. "Relax. The last thing you should do right now is tense your muscles." Less than 3 seconds after the words fell, Oriyuki's entire body went limp involuntarily. "I think I'm already?" No part of her body obeyed her command, and her voice was so dry and weak it was almost inaudible. "When I found you, you were already in a dying state, and the necrosis of your seed has reached 90%, the voice replied, sounding like layers of echoes in Oriyuki's ears. Since there was nothing more to be done, we decided to try a risky experiment, and it was very successful. We're all very lucky. Will I live? Yes, rebirth. Okay, I think I forgot something. A dead body in Senlo and the seed from another world. You are now an extremely special individual. You can start anew. Start anew? Oriyuki rolled her eyes, trying to see the face of the person in front of her, but closed them again under the influence of the medicine. You're tired. We can talk about other things later. For now, get some good sleep. Oh man. So Oriyuki was dead and somehow resurrected using a dead body in Senlo and the seed from another world? Is that why she could like reappear in the director's office? But there's no dead body involved. So there's some like memory transfer stuff. You're awake. Third story, so it's 3 separate stories. Okay. You're awake. What met her eyes was the unusual gloomy sky. Oriyuki forced herself to stay conscious, slowly moving her blurry vision inch by inch. It was still those bright eyes she was familiar with, but they seemed red-rimmed and her face was paler than usual. That's great, you're okay. What about those walkers? They're all dead. So gas actually affects them. I thought it wouldn't work. Then why did you suggest using yourself as bait? What else could I do? There were over 20 walkers. Even if you are an ability user, we couldn't beat them, so I had to take a chance. But you reacted pretty quickly. Was there any basis for you to immediately think of using poison gas? Well, in Chapter 4, when Su Xiao and Oriyuki escaped from that prison, Oriyuki said she found out that the prison cell was actually a poison gas chamber. And that's because she had such experience in Blackout, being chased by many walkers. I forgot it was exactly 20, or perhaps. Actually, I was half skeptical. It was just a deduction based on previous research that a large part of the walkers' power comes from their upgraded bodies, so I guessed this poison gas might also be effective. Huh? But I was wearing a gas mask, so why did I still pass out? Perhaps it was too much traveling these past few days and then being overly stressed when facing the walkers. That's why. He lowered his head. I almost thought. Oh, no wonder you were so worried. Were you afraid I'd die? Don't worry, I promise you. I'll definitely try to live longer. Yay. So that's Oriyuki, researcher. Oriyuki, researcher. Oriyuki, researcher. No, that's still Oriyuki. This is researcher. Researcher is a he. Okay, last story. You're awake? The lady rushed to the bedside and hugged Oriyuki tightly, her messy hair falling against Oriyuki's neck. Little Oriyuki was slightly bewildered, instinctively wanting to hug her back, but an inexplicable resistance emerged at an inopportune moment. Oriyuki could not stand there, bewildered, her gaze sweeping around, blinking in confusion. Seeing her daughter unresponsive, the woman anxiously cupped Oriyuki's face, calling out a certain name repeatedly, but not Oriyuki. Why did you run out into the road alone? Why did you stand still? You really scared me, you know. The unfamiliar smell of disinfectant filled her nostrils. Oriyuki opened her mouth, the bitter taste of thick smoke still lingering in her throat. From walkers? No? Oh, she remembered she had just been in the sea of fire, her parents' lives taken by a few bullets, and her name wasn't that. This isn't. Oh! So this is the instant where Oriyuki and Su Xiao swapped their lives. Because Su Xiao was in Senlo, she grew up in the war-troubled zone in Eridu. And she's an orphan. That matches the description here. And then Oriyuki went to Blackout. She's unfamiliar with this name. It was supposedly to be Su Xiao. And her name wasn't that. This isn't right. All of this. As if having made some kind of decision, Oriyuki lifted her head, but the other person spoke before her. Promise me, her voice was almost pleading. Don't ever do this again, and don't leave my side, okay? Foreheads touching, tears fell on their intertwined skin, extinguishing the last flicker of strange fire in her heart. I promise. Paper cranes don't dream. All of this is Oriyuki's memory. I had vaguely recalled some of it before, but it was never very clear. Now, with the dust covering the deepest part of my mind wiped away, even older memories have automatically surfaced. I really want to remember more, but I can't control it. You know, when it comes to memories, I never have any control. Maybe I'm destined to be someone with some blank spots. Director, as for what you just said about memory, dream and reality, in my opinion, these three are always mixed together, aren't they? Who can truly distinguish them? All I know is that on that night, I did see that photo clearly for the first time. The lady holding her daughter, I suppose. Okay, last one. The final as appendix, not useful. Is it comfortable lying on the operating table, just reliving the feeling of seeing this world for the first time? Any thoughts? Not very good. It's too cold here. How have you been lately? Nothing's really changed. I just keep working dutifully, taking on the hard, thankless jobs no one else wants. Sounds like you're doing well. So, but of course, I haven't forgotten about the main business. Leo is making rapid progress, and the Archbishop might have already lost patience with the this in Locutara. Oh, although it's a bit early, it's pretty much what I expected. She's always been impatient. I guess she's about to make a move. Good luck to you. Now that I know the plan, I can't exactly refuse to go along as a so-called ally on the surface. No way, are you really going to surrender and take a beating? The Locutara members don't go easy. If you get knocked out, you won't be able to do research. So she's not a part of Locutara? For a small matter like this, Chinchu won't personally designate someone who leaves room for manipulation. So from an insider, Chizuru Oriyuki, right? What do you think your maiden cares about most? The Archbishop? Are you saying? If my information is correct, right now, don't you have the most suitable person in your hands? This counterattack is really ruthless. Well, now there's another good show to watch. But is it necessary to make it so complicated? Locutara is growing stronger and is a force not to be underestimated, but Chinchu is not the chosen one, and I still need some time to prepare. No, perhaps not just me, many people in Hailin still need Locutara to exist, so for now, it won't fall. People with deep thoughts are truly terrifying. I'm not interested in any of this. I'll just do whatever you say, okay? Why are you looking at me like that? That's Oriyuki. Nothing. I just think you've adapted quite well to your identity compared to the beginning. Blank memories, a blank life. Besides my name, which I quite like, Rebirth isn't as good as it sounds, but it's different now. Life has become much more interesting. You know what? As you wish, just be mindful of your limits. Don't worry, I don't want to get involved in your complicated relationships. Everything I do represents a crane's personal stance. Please don't escalate it to any organization or individual. Oh, but if it comes to a critical moment, that might change. So somehow she's reborn again? That's very complex history. Then, I pray that time never comes for you. Hey, I thought you'd say your life should be used as a critical moment. In your eyes, would I say something like that? Question: if my identity is exposed and I'm being hunted, will you save me? It depends on the specific situation. See? But I can guarantee that if you ever want to step away, I won't stop you. Really? Aren't you afraid I'll spill the secrets and let your blah 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 know? You won't. Boring. I can't talk to people like you, who are so good at reading minds and always handle with ease. I'm very busy soon. For urgent matters, contact Twila. So we saw this name Twila at the very end of chapter 9. The group, consisting Salatar, Baiji, etc., seems to be led by Twila. So Oriyuki was actually part of Twila, this group? They infiltrated Lokotara, they broke down Lokotara, and now they're surfacing? Okay, appendix, not important. Okay, we come back to the memory trace and focus on the story. Before the world collapses, the wind erases all names. Who are you? Who am I? We talked about that earlier. Oriyuki needs a name at this point. Even in their own dreams, the amnesiac remains an alien. Amnesiac. We can't zoom in. 4:30 a.m. inside a quiet residential home. The pendulum sways back and forth, each soft tick-tock echoing through the silence. Barely audible, it nonetheless sounds strikingly loud in the quiet night. The girl sits on the sofa, fiddling with something. Suddenly, she notices a person lying on the floor move. You are awake. Okay, yet again you are awake. She hears her own voice say. The figure slowly sits up. Where am I? My place? My place? You saved me? Thanks. Don't mention it. Anyone who sees a living thing lying at the stairwell entrance on their way back would be curious enough to pick it up. The other person wears a poorly fitted protective suit with the hood pulled low, making his face and expression hard to see. Yet the girl somehow feels he hesitates for a brief moment just now. Sorry. I should say thank you instead. Considering the safety issues and the current environment, it would be normal if you chose not to get involved with me. The air is thick with a rotten stench of walkers. The person on the floor slowly recovers and notices his belongings neatly arranged around him. As the girl continues tidying things without concern, he raises his head and surveys the surroundings. The small house is crowded with all sorts of daily clutter. It is far from neat, yet somehow maintains order within its chaos. Still, something about her feels strangely out of place here. What are you looking around in my house for? You live alone? Yes, and you are dead. Without paying attention to the other person's silence, the girl continues rummaging around, muttering, I remember I left it here just now, and finishes what he was saying. Everyone's the same, they either escape somewhere else, or they can't get away and die. Isn't there only two choices in this world? But you're still here. Being alone is nice. I can live wherever I want, and no one will care. Sensing the implication of her in her words, the person rises from the floor and looks at her, a trace of hesitation in his gaze. Is this actually your home? I told you it's my place. The girl smiles while searching through the cupboard. I can't go back home anyway, since the owner isn't using it. It's fine if I borrow it to rest for a bit, right? After a non-committal silence, he changes the subject again. You can live alone in a place filled only with walkers. Are you an ability user? Is missing a period here. Ability user? Is that what people outside call a strange power? Ah, found it. I knew I still had half a pack left from last time. The girl happily shakes the item in her hand at him. And you? You seem to be an ordinary person coming alone to a place like this. What are you planning to do? From the Fifth Research Institute. A junior researcher? As her words fade, something arcs through the air. A person catches it. It is their ID card, the one kept at the bottom of his bag. The girl seems less careless than expected. He puts the ID card away, feeling a slight sense of relief for some reason. I'm going to the protophase base. There's an experimental tower nearby. I'm heading there to take part in research about walkers. Research walkers? The girl glances at the portable transport case the person refuses to let go of, even while unconscious. Is this filled with experimental samples? Yes, to make it possible one day for our lives to return to what they once were, this is necessary. I see. Then I wish you success. Her tone is flat, showing little interest in the topic, nowhere near as excited as when she found that half pack of compressed biscuits earlier. Here, try one. Thanks, you already know my identity. What about you? She instinctively starts to give the name she has worn for more than 10 years, but the girl knows she cannot call herself that. She's not Sue. Oh. Yeah. Her mother knew it as well, but in the very last moment, she still... Whoa. Are you okay? Snapping back to her senses, the girl meets a pair of bright eyes. Oriyuki, my name is Oriyuki. Oriyuki, a nice name. Hearing the other person clearly call out that name, the girl freezes for a moment and instinctively turns her face away. She suddenly realizes that this is the first time someone has called her by that name. Poor girl. Clam. The wall clock lets out a faint rumbling sound. The hourly chime rings out almost symbolically, barely audible. It's 5, it'll be daylight soon. Are you living? Yeah, Protofaith base is still quite a distance from here, and I don't have any transport. I'll need to travel more during the day. He swiftly gathers the belongings, and before long, everything is secured on his back as he heads towards the door. But instead of opening it, the researcher pauses, turns back, hesitates briefly, and finally speaks to Oriyuki standing a short distance away. Are with me? What? In fact, there were a few researchers assigned to the Protofaith base with me, but none of them survived. If you're willing, I have an extra intake slot. After all, no one can survive in a world like this alone. You really trust that base? To be honest, I don't trust anyone, but humans need groups. And this is the best system we have right now to maintain order. I also need to borrow their power to accomplish my goal. Thanks for the suggestion, but I'm not going with you. Oriyuki lowers her head. Unlike you, I don't want to go to any base. I have no goal to achieve, and I don't want to live that long. Huh? What, are you the type who tries to save everyone you see? Unfortunately, I don't need it. Go on, I won't see you off. The other person does not insist further, only nods and softly says, "Take care," before turning and pushing open the door. Oriyuki lowers her gaze to the floor. The rather sturdy door slowly closes, gradually cutting off all light from outside. Until... Footsteps fade away and then return. The long silent door is knocked on again. The sound stirs an unfamiliar emotion in Oriyuki. She opens the door and the brightening light makes her frown slightly. You, why are you back again? Maybe I'm just meddling and you don't really want that, but I still hope you can live well and live a little longer. So, Oriyuki, are you really not coming with me? Okay, so more backstory. She knew this researcher, so the two of them probably went to the Protofaith base together.